Hello, everyone, and welcome to Idle Insights, the show where every week we talk to amazing people across the internet about Idle Champions and Dungeons and Dragons. Usually, this is the person who does the interviewing, but this week I have taken over once again because we're going to talk about Fortune's Wheel, Turn of Fortune's Wheel, and the campaign that has been written in Idle Champions. And you know who the writer for that is? Our guest today, Treavor Bettis.
I'm amazing.
You are. You get to be the amazing person.
Oh, man. That's cool. I like that.
Trevor, for people who might not know who you are, who are you and what do you do here at Idle Champions?
Well, hello. I'm Treavor Bettis. I'm the writer and content designer for Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, and sometimes I host a little show called Idle Insights. Yeah, I'm excited to have some fun talking about writing and stuff.
Yeah, writing and stuff. We were talking, I was double checking earlier because while you have been the host of this stream for years now.
Dude, oh my God. Yeah, like June 2022 and it's 2024 now and it's nearly June and
Yeah, time, flat circle. You were a guest previously when former employee of Codename Entertainment and now Wizard of the Coast Todd Kendrick was sitting in your chair, and so he interviewed you, and
you interviewed me once because we did one for Vin Ursa.
Oh, that's true. That's
right.
I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah.
So I've stolen your opening question for when I take over for you, but you've already answered that opening question about how you got into D&D. So I'm gonna steal your backup question, which is, so tell us a little bit about your favorite D&D character.
Oh, my favorite. Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
I mean, you could talk about your first if you want, but I also kind of like to throw the favorite out there.
That's a fun one. Yeah. I haven't thought about asking guests that for choose your favorite child.
Yeah. Choose your child.
I should probably say real quick. Yes, we are live for the person in the chat that asked. We're doing this.
We're doing it live. So yes, if you do have any questions for Trevor about any of the things that we have talked about that Trevor is going to be talking about, go ahead and put those in chat.
Or even if you don't, if it's not like stuff we're talking about, you just put questions in there. I might answer them.
You can. No guarantee that we will answer them though. So, keep that in mind. But yeah, Gabe is here in chat as our awesome moderator, and we'll grab those. And any free time we have at the end of the stream, I will throw some of your questions at Trevor. Meanwhile, give me your favorite child.
My favorite child. Oh, this is actually genuinely tough for me because I recently discovered that I'm not the normal player for D&D because all of my friends, when it comes to characters, they're like, oh yeah, no, if my character dies, it's fine. I've got like 5 backups right now, and I'm like, that does not compute to me. I don't make characters on D&D Beyond unless like there's a reason for it. Like I think I've done ones for like shows where it's like, hey, let's build a character and just look at this mechanically and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't sit there and think about design and stuff like that until I get into a campaign, and that's really when I like pour everything into it. And I am coming at it from, I come at it similar to the way that I make characters for writing a book and stuff. And so I do get very attached to them. But I think what I think I will do for this instance is probably the one that I've done the most with.
Oh.
And I've actually carried through several games. So I started playing a game that is not Dungeons and Dragons.
How dare?
That is of a fantasy sort as well. And I was playing a wizard, and I was a big on fire and everything like that. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, I don't really like this mechanically. Like I'm just getting bored with it. I'm just like, yeah, I just walk into a room, I throw fireball, and like every time I level up, it's just pick more spells. And I got kind of bored of it. And so I asked the DM, hey, is there a way that I could change my character even though we kind of just went through a teleporter to a different world? And so he came up with a thing. Like I asked him this 2 hours before the game. And so we came up with something, and I got to do a thing that I'd been wanting to do. I had this idea of having a character who was essentially kind of like a god sort of thing that was kind of in someone's body, that knew more than he should, but kind of just went along with it to see what happened adventure-wise. And we distilled that down into this person who their consciousness was floating through the multiverse, and they kind of occasionally land in the consciousness of other people and kind of like overtake them. And I came up with this whole backstory of it and everything. So I switched my character to a bard, and that became Wit, who from Adventurer's Guide to the Multiverse.
Yeah.
I named him Wit in the moment because I was reading Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson, and I really liked the character of Wit, even though this character is very different from him personality-wise. And I was always like, oh, I'll find a better name for him. I'll do that. I could never come up with anything better. I went, screw it. His name's Wit. I don't care. Whatever. And so I took that character all the way to level 20, was a bard and everything. I wrote more about his backstory and like why his consciousness can travel the multiverse and everything. And I've had him now show up several other times throughout my home campaign through Adventurer's Guide to the Multiverse and everything. I've let one of my players play him for a little bit. It's like he's a character that I have very much become very fond of as he's done all these travels and interact with all these people.
I love the fact that Orkira now knows who Wit is, because for those that don't know, Adventurer's Guide to the Multiverse was, we did 7 episodes, 8 episodes, 6 episodes. I don't remember how many.
6? Something like that.
It was less than 10 episodes on the Dungeon Scrollers channel, and where Trevor ran an awesome game that was the Adventurer's Guide to the Multiverse that I played in as Orkira, who is a character that I've played in multiple shows and campaigns. And no spoilers, but I believe eventually Wit will be the reason that we have a reunion of that show.
Probably. If there was a reason to, it's going to be him.
Well, and I want it to happen. I'm just putting it out there. Here we go. If for those of you who watch the stream, you know why. I need that to happen. But yes, Wit is wonderful. I find it really interesting when you talked about you don't do backup characters and that you think that that's something that a lot of people do. I don't either.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
No. In fact, multiple times there have been moments in streamed games with long-term characters where there was not only a non-zero chance, but a very high chance my character was not going to survive the next episode, and I still refused to actually make a new character for 2 reasons. One, I don't want to give up on the character I'm playing right now, and that's giving up on them.
That's the one.
And two, it is one of the few things I am slightly suspicious about, or slightly superstitious about. As soon as you make that backup character, guess what? You're gonna need them.
Yeah. I agree with that.
There have been a couple times in where it's at least gone through my head of, okay, if I do have to do this, do I have some ideas? But I've never actually gone through the process of making a character as a backup, because I'm like, it's just asking for trouble. It's asking for trouble. And I also, and I think you and I are probably in the same mindset. In the event that was to happen, I think both of us could probably come up with a new character relatively quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So, because then you have the opportunity to make something in response to what has happened, which is a much easier tie-in for an existing campaign.
And that's the thing for me, is that I need the story. I need characters that I know they're going to be interacting with to form this next character. Like, I'm not thinking of them mechanically and stuff like that. If anything, I'm thinking of them first, and then what mechanically I can use to do that with.
I'm doing usually a bit of both. Like, I don't think it's a spoiler at this point to say there were a couple of times, but there was one time very specifically with Orkira, with Todd, in where not only was it like, oh, Orkira might not survive, which happens fairly often, but specifically Todd, after an episode, was just like, you should think about a backup character. I'm like, no. No, not until this one's gone. But
I feel like that was Todd trying to put the fear of Todd in you too.
Maybe. That's very possible. I mean, It's very possible.
Yeah.
And certainly I was afraid for her and I didn't want her to go, but also I was not going to make a backup character. But I was thinking about like options.
Yeah.
Because it's impossible not to when you're in that specific situation. And I kind of thought both story-wise and mechanics-wise, because I'm also one of those players who looks at the makeup of the group and I go, okay, what don't we have? What can I make that is not going to overlap with anybody else, both so that I'm not getting in their way, but also so that I have my own thing. So a lot of that kind of happened. But I'm also not one of those people who just makes characters for the fun of it. I need a reason to, and I still have hundreds of characters on D&D Beyond.
Same. Yeah.
So all of this being interested in making characters for specific things must have helped a lot when you became the writer for Idle Champions. I like that transition. I've been practicing.
Good.
So let's talk a little bit just about the writing in general, because you've had a chance to talk about writing for Idle Champions in bits and pieces here and there as you have interviewed other people. I want to know, as you became the writer for Idle Champions, what did that involve that is different from writing, let's say, a novel or other things that you have written?
Well, so what's funny is I actually found it to be similar to something I had already written, which was the webcomics for C&E, the Pack Antics that I did with the lovely Luke McKay.
Yes.
And yeah, it felt like I got to essentially sit down and write a long form webcomic script, because this is an idle game. You know, we're looking for a bit of levity and everything. It's not the super dark and gritty campaign that some people might have at home. This is, you know, got jokes and weird stuff happening in it. I mean, heck, Aaron had baby crocodiles with parachutes flying in during like a town being on fire. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Still one of my favorite familiars, by the way.
Yeah.
The crocodile with the parachute. Oh. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, it was essentially, you know, I wanted to write webcomics since high school, and I even like practiced writing webcomic scripts and stuff like that, and I found my own kind of style with it, but I never had anyone to draw it until I got the chance to do it here. And so when I sat down to start writing these adventures, I found the comic flow of it fairly similar to it, except I didn't have to worry about panels and everything like that. The one difficulty, though, that I have with it from both webcomics and novel writing is I don't get to describe things because it's mainly dialogue. And I will be honest, and some folks may have noticed this in more recent adventures, I've started to cheat. It's using
not cheating. You're the one writing
brackets now, and just describing things. Where it's just like I think I have one at some point where it's like cast Eldritch Blast to like really tell like what they're doing, and you know, crashing sounds. So I put more tags onto it recently, because there's some things that I want to happen that just don't come out with pure dialogue. But yeah, that was probably the thing that was the most challenging to come from, because I didn't have a spot to tell Luke like, hey, this is what I have in my head or anything like that. It's, you know, I have the background that folks are seeing in the game, and the enemies that are in there to kind of set the scene for them as they're reading it, as like what's going on in the area. And so I'm always trying to think about what that looks like in tandem with the dialogue that I'm going with, and hoping, you know, that somebody's picturing it in their head, and that I'm doing a good job with it.
Well, and that brings up another interesting thing about Idle Champions, is because most of what you have to work with is dialogue, you're doing a lot of character work. Specifically, you're doing a lot of character work with champions that other people have created. And I feel like there's got to be a bit of a difference writing for, let's say, Celeste, someone who is a character who is in D&D lore, who has maybe come up in a bunch of different ways, and is not necessarily that you point to one person and say they created this character, versus say Freely, who B-Dave, you look at B-Dave and you're like, this is someone. So does that present different difficulties?
I wouldn't call them difficulties. It's more of just different ways that I have to go about things. Like Celeste is actually a great example. I actually love writing Celeste. She's one of my favorite characters to write. The thing is that, you know, she showed up in Neverwinter, the MMO, and she has some dialogue and things and stuff there, but we've definitely have like our own interpretation of her. And in characters who are not content creator characters and whatnot, we are allowed to have a little more of interpretation with them for our game. And so, like for Celeste, you know, when I'm writing her, I'm thinking leader, caring, motherly, protection, and like that's how I'm forming her dialogue around as I'm going. But when it comes to Freely, like I essentially just have B-Dave's voice in my head. I've heard him talk as Freely so much that I can essentially take the sentence that I know I want to have and then just run it through a Freely filter.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like, how would B-Dave say this? How do I think B-Dave would say this as Freely? And so it might go from, you know, like, hey, I think that maybe we should do this. It's hey guys, I think maybe we should do it this way. And so instead of it kind of being up to the interpretation that we have of the game of a character, I'm trying to match what I want them to say as close to how I think the content creator would say it.
That's gotta be a lot of work. I mean, how many champions do we have in the game? Made by how many people?
Well, I mean, that's the good thing with these adventures is that we do pick a cast that we're focusing on each adventure. Though sometimes I've cheated. When I had Mrs. Fox show up for the first time in Xerxes, I had Orkira pop in real quick to say, "Hi, Mrs. Fox."
I did appreciate that, yeah.
I mean, we were literally doing Adventures Guide at the time, and I'm like, well, I've got to have her show up for this. And so, yeah, it's because we have the cast of characters, it's a little bit easier. When I do switch between campaigns that I'm writing, it does take a moment for me to, you know, kind of switch back into that set of characters' mindsets to understand how I think they would go about doing things. Because, you know, when I wrote the ending of Wild Beyond the Witchlight, that Aaron had written the majority of, for the most part, I was writing, you know, I had two characters that were the same. I had Celeste and Jarlaxle. So I was able to, from Xerxes, stay there. But I had Brunor, I had Blushi, I had a bunch of other characters that I wasn't used to writing. And so it does take me a little bit more to switch over to that and go, okay, I need to think about how they are going to do things with these characters as well.
So we are here primarily to talk about Turn of Fortune's Wheel, which is the newest campaign. But there has been now enough adventures that have come out. I feel like we can talk about it a little bit. And not spoil too much. There will be spoilers because
I may be going to the blogs right now to see which ones we're up to that I can talk about.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. V and I have talked about this quite a bit, but also, yeah, it's true for Trevor.
Okay, three.
A lot of us live in the future, in places and where stuff has already happened.
I am so far in the future.
In fact, I'll even hint this. There was a moment as we were preparing for this exact stream and where I said, man, I wish we were at the point where we're at this adventure so we could talk about this. Yeah. So yeah, future.
Here, to let folks in on how future. I'm today working on June 26th. Mm-hmm. That's how far in the future I am from you.
But it makes sense, right? Because that's where then art orders come from, and creatures come from, and all sorts of other things kind of come from the story. So you are the furthest. You're the one trailblazing, and the rest of us are creating based on what trail you've blazed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
essentially,
you gotta be in the future. So Turn of Fortune's Wheel. So, and once again, there will be spoilers, but this is going to be a spoiler that happens right at the beginning of the very first adventure. So if you are concerned about spoilers, and specifically for that adventure, I will understand if you maybe hold off on watching this episode until you get to that point. But for everybody else, How did you pick a cast of characters that were going to be in this adventure, knowing what the glitches are?
So well, so for folks who hung around who haven't played it, the glitch in Turn of Fortune's Wheel is essentially a multiversal version of a character. Also, fun thing, multiverse is not exactly how it works in Marvel, but also is. So that's not.
Listen, we're not going to go
all.
there because that's if we got to go into comic books turned into
There-
movies turned into
There's multiple multiverses, and so this is a multiverse of your character. And so yeah, the idea is that like in another existence, this is a character who is the same as you but different. So like. This might be the Githyanki version of Naeli for some reason and stuff like that. And so when we came to figuring out the cast for this one, we were thinking about the glitch champions and who would be fun to have, but also who it would be fun to work with to get these glitches done. And so I essentially got to sit down and I was given free reign of like, hey, just make a dream team of who you would want. And so I put some together and then met with Dupuis and we talked about it and ended up landing on the cast that we have. And I have gotten several questions about why certain characters are not showing up in this.
I mean, once again, we have well over 100 characters. Not everyone can show up. And also just because they're not part of the main cast, as it were, as you have said, that doesn't mean that you can't have someone pop in for a moment to say hi to Mrs. Fox.
Yeah, exactly. That actually is, I will say that one is different in this. One of the things that I wanted to do differently in this one was really shrink down that pool because I was like, this is a silly fun game, but I also like over 100 people waking up in a different form with no memory in the mortuary sounds like a headache. And so we did, and so that's why we have narrowed it down and why other champions in other forms have popped up in later adventures for us to find. And that was actually a pitch that I had about like, I think we should fight them because that's funny.
Yeah, because the thing about the glitches is sometimes it can be a small change all the way up to a huge change personality-wise and everything.
Yeah.
And so just because someone is a friend and a good person normally doesn't mean they're going to show up as a friend and a good person. And I'm talking about not just our adventure, but like if you play the D&D tabletop version of this adventure, it is the same kind of thing. You can change. There's a spectrum of changes you can be on. So anyway, so you pick your core team.
Yeah, and so it is essentially me picking who I think would fit an adventure and who I'd like to see interact and who I think would be fun to write. And there are plenty of characters that I do think that don't end up being in there because this is a collaborative thing. I'm not all in control and I don't want to be all in control. And so, we landed on this group, and I was very happy with it. I mean, number one, I get to write 3 of my friends' characters. Are you kidding me? That's fantastic. And so it's been a blast getting to work with Orkira and Havilar and Freely, as well as Naeli and Calliope, and it's been a lot of fun. And of course, the character that I introduced in this one, Ren, who you'll learn more about later.
That's not really a spoiler. That's more of a tease. That is a
I'd be like, I have there isn't a lot of information about her, so we'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, nobody remembers anything, so why would they? Now, when this might be more of a question that only Aaron and B-Dave and I are interested in. When you were creating the cast, did you know that one of the glitches, that some people were going to be asked to be glitches and to look like themselves in real life?
Yes, because I pitched that idea.
All right. Because I was talking about this yesterday on stream about how I am I still get giddy that Orkira is in a video game, and she's been in this game for multiple years.
And now Orkira looks like you.
and now there's that extra layer of wait, what? And it's actually hard. I have it turned on in my game and where it just randomly picks a skin every time I go to put champions in. So if I go looking for Orkira, I'm not looking for the word Orkira. I'm looking for that character. And when it's me in there, I don't see her. And then I'm like, what did happen? Oh, no. Oh, it's me. All right. So you've got these. Yeah. I just saw in the chat, Lurking Rider's like, and now Lauren can cosplay Orkira easily. Yes. Yes, 100%. The next time I have to cosplay as Orkira, I'm just going to grab a book. I'm going to be like, hi, here I am. So, and actually that brought up a question that I wanted to grab from chat. Where is it? Here we go. So Lurking Rider was asking about having fun as a writer in Idle Champions, and they're asking about what is something you've been able to add to the game that has left you grinning so hard your jaw hurt.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna narrow this down a little bit, unless you've got something real good outside.
I mean, yeah.
What's something in Turn of Fortune's wheel specifically?
Okay. So, this is so stupid, but it's literally making me grin like this.
Well, then that is amazing, and we love it.
I may have talked about this on a show, and I can't remember if I have, but oh well, whatever. So, I mean, obviously, there's Mrs. Fox. I have artwork of Mrs. Fox now. I love her so much, and I randomly put her in a game one time, and now she's in a video game, and I love it. But the real, like, the deep cut for me is from the first adventure. There is at one point where you fight a red dragon whose name is Fireburn Smoke.
Yes.
And Fireburn Smoke is a joke from my home campaign because I think they're supposed to be, I can't remember exactly what it is in the original Tomb of Annihilation adventure, but I know in my campaign I ended up having them come face to face with a red dragon underneath Omu, who is went, my name is Fireburn Smoke, and the idea was that it was a kobold that had been turned into a red dragon by a Sirak, but still maintained the mental process of a kobold. It was like the deal that a Sirak made with it for the kobolds to go around and always reset the traps through Omu. And so I saw an opportunity. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna put a red dragon in here. It's Fireburn Smoke. Yep. And I even took a little screenshot of it when the adventure came out, and I showed it to my players in our Discord. I'm just like, Fireburn Smoke lives.
Also, the interaction between Fireburn Smoke and the characters the champions who are there is wonderful. And I've said this in public before, but one of the reasons that I'm very impressed with Trevor's writing, as the person who made Orkira, you do a very good job of writing her voice. And so when I read the script for that, there's a moment that Orkira is like a 60-40 of incredibly serious and then like weirdly kind of jokingly sarcastic in a fourth wall breaking way. And the fact that you get that in that interaction makes me happy. So thank you for that. All right. Well, since I'm kind of guessing that there might have been another moment that was outside of Turn of Fortune's wheel, but while you think about that moment, I will say that we are probably at the point that we're going to start a giveaway. I know our wonderful moderator, Gabe, will be running a giveaway in chat. So if you are, say, listening to this in another tab and want to come on back and participate in the giveaway, you do need to be in chat. Keep an eye on chat to see what the keyword is that you will be putting into chat in order to enter for 42 chests of your choice, excluding Bahamut chests. Yeah. There we go. For a second, I forgot what the number was. I'm like, how could I forget the answer to life, the universe, and everything?
I mean, yeah, it's all around us.
Exactly. So, it looks like best writer is the keyword.
Oh, Gabe, you're too nice.
Yes. Perfect. I love it.
Making me blush, Gabe.
Oh, well, while everybody is excitedly entering our giveaway, did you have another moment from outside of Turn of Fortune's wheel?
I mean, like the thing is that like I will say I mean I end up writing these adventures, parts 1 and 2 over the course of 2 weeks, and so like a lot of them become a blur.
Mm.
But yeah, there's definitely I sneak things in for myself as much as I can, and they're literally for no one else but myself and my players if they see it. Like I know I've made references to things that have happened in my games. I think in the Infinities adventure, which I mean is already like I got to make up a new location. I got to have Mrs. Fox in it. I got to tell the art team you're gonna be making so many taverns. Actually, the hilarious little tangent from that one. A few adventures later, when we go to the Arena of Blood, I had another tavern show up, and the art team literally was like, "You don't have enough taverns already? Really? You need another one?" But I think in the Infinities adventure, I had the Troll Skull Manor background, and I called the manager of that one the Fine Spirits manager, which is a reference to my players' franchise of taverns, and the original one was the Troll Skull Manor one. So that's definitely one that stands out in my mind of like just little things that I throw in there that just make me grin. But I mean, like, absolutely, number one is the fact Mrs. Fox. I think I have her as my image in the Idle Champions Discord because I'm so giddy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yep. Yep. And I think it's very indicative of just D&D in general, of that pulling from your history, your experiences to put into a game. Whether or not it is something tiny or an entire character that is going to help run an adventure. Like that's what we do as storytellers and DMs, is look at the cool things that are around us and go, I'll take that and I'll take that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
take that, and then put them all together and then send them off to Sigil. And there you go. There was another question that came up that I thought was good to grab for right now. Cassius335 wants to know, who would you pick to be the definitive versions of Brunar, Celeste, Naeli, and Jarlaxle should they happen to turn up in the same AP? So, like, if they were... The way I'm reading this is... So, say they show up in Turn of Fortune's Wheel, and there's going to be a glitch version of them. Are there glitch versions of them you got in the back of your head that you would like to see?
Which were the characters again?
Brunar, Celeste, Naeli we've already got a glitch version of, and Jarlaxle. So let's say Brunar, Celeste, and Jarlaxle. Who would you like to see? What kind of glitches would you like to see there that would be fun?
I think I would love to see Brunar. I think I'd love to see him as a goblin and still talk the same. I think that's funny.
Yeah.
Celeste, I'd love to have her as like a full-on Azamar and just be majestic. And I think for Jarlaxle, what would I do for Jarlaxle?
Because that's the fun of these glitches, is that you have a couple different avenues to go in. Like you can do the whole, I want to do something that's going to enhance this character, and then you can be like, I just want to go against type. I want Jarlaxle to be a gnome with his same outfit because I think that's hilarious. Tiny little guy, big old hat.
Yep.
Okay. Still as sarcastic, still as witty, still as
oh yeah,
what are we doing here and why am I here?
yeah, 100%. Demanding your attention down here.
That's awesome.
Also, I see we have an urban bohemian in the chat. Hey there.
Oh, hi. Welcome.
Right.
Yeah. I love that you're watching chat closer than I am, but I'm hosting and producing, so I've already got a lot going on.
I just happen to look over.
Hey, listen, we're always excited to see friends in chat. So Turn of Fortune's Wheel been going on for a little while now. I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question without spoiling anything.
Hey.
So there's a couple different ways that you can go with the glitches. A lot of the ones that we've put on into the game are very visually different. They've been different lineages. They've been different, they're visually very different. But the cool thing about glitches is they can also be personality-wise different. Is there a personality shift that has happened that you've been really excited about?
So I'll be honest, I've actually avoided doing that. And the main reason is because again, I just have text to convey, what's going on with them and everything. I wanted to keep some familiarity there. So like even though it says freely, and we have a picture of B Dave, like I still wanted him to talk like freely.
Okay.
And that was important to me because we were doing the amnesia story. I didn't want, because I was just like, well, if we're just gonna have a bunch of characters who aren't these characters walking around, and we're like, you need to care about them and they have their name. I'm like, but do you though? And so I wanted to keep that similar. I will say I do change things up with the other champions that we find, the glitch versions of it. Like I definitely made Averin a little more mustache twirling.
So it was Averin then, is what you're saying? It's just
yeah, but
Averin.
like kind of like a little over the top and everything.
Yeah.
But for the main cast, I wanted to keep them as similar as I could, so that it wasn't, you were still interested in the character and how they developed with this change, but it wasn't just like you were reading somebody completely different.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. And as someone who has a character in that game who is going through a glitch right now, I appreciate it. Because in the tabletop version of Turn of Fortune's Wheel, yeah, you can create really wild differences, like with your class, with your personality. Like you can pick a whole bunch of different things, and sometimes it's hard to think of the same character in the same way if there is that kind of personality shift, even if everything is the same. And yeah, if you're only in text, that totally makes sense. All right, we've got a bunch actually questions that have come up.
Let's do some questions.
Yeah. Usually we try to wait a little bit longer, but I can't very easily put these questions into the conversation we're having, so I'm just going to go. It's question time.
Question time.
Cassius335 wants to know, next Garlock appearance when?
I don't know.
That's fair.
I haven't put Garlock in the game. And I don't have any plans of a streaming appearance as Garlock currently. Those are mostly the kind of last minute things where it's like, hey, I'm going to do a game. Do you want to be in it? I went, sure, I'll bring Garlock.
It's fun having those one-shot characters, right? That you can just pull out and that's I got a monk who is Idovan is my one-shot character.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Just like, wait,
Love
I need
Idovan.
to be, you don't need anything in specific. Here comes Idovan. Here we go. And then this kind of goes along with that. Cat's Tees Sweaters wants to know, how many podcasts do you have going on now?
Right now, actively, I only have 2. I have Writing About Dragons and Shit, where if you've enjoyed me talking about writing here today, you can hear me talk about more writing with Aaron M. Evans and me, Dave Walters. And then I have my Just for the Lulz podcast called I'm Gonna Podcast with my friends and my sister, who we just we didn't really know what to do at first, and so we were just kind of like talking about stuff that I found on Reddit and whatnot, and now we're just bringing topics every week, each one of us. Honestly, that show I think got better after episode 12 or whatever. So it's been fun getting to sit around and talk with them just about weird stuff.
And related to podcasts, you've been back on the Dungeon Scrawlers channel. For those that on Wednesday nights see the little pop-up about Dungeon Scrawlers, can you talk a little bit about how'd you get involved with this side story on Dungeon Scrawlers?
Aaron messaged me one day and went, "Hey, I'm going to do a side story to Dungeon Scrawlers. Do you want to be in it?" And I went, "Abso-freaking-lutely." Yeah, that I wish there was more to it, but yeah, it was literally just like Aaron was like, "Hey, I think it'd be fun to have you in this," and I went, "Yes, please."
And for those that have been watching along, all of those episodes are on their YouTube, which I mentioned because you're basically at the end of that campaign.
Yeah, we got our epilogue episode next week.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And you've got a new character in that game. What inspired a character that I can't say their name because it sounds close enough to mine that every once in a while when I'm listening to Dungeon Scrawlers, I go, what?
Oh, yeah, it does. Florin does sound like that. Yeah, I mean, quickly for him, this is a character that I had made for another campaign years ago, and then COVID hit, and it didn't end up happening. Which, I mean, yeah, there was no, like, it was sad that I didn't get to play with these people, but it was like, yeah, that's what we had to do.
Happens, yeah.
And back then his name was just Hero, and I just had this idea of a character back then that was someone who was very desperately trying to live up to the name that he was given, and was kind of constantly failing at it. And so when I told Erin about this, she was like, "I really like that. Would you want to workshop that more?" So she and I actually workshopped him for, I want to say, about like 3 weeks off and on, just messaging through Discord. And she was like suggesting things from lore that we could tie it into. And like she was suggesting these. I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure that's okay? Okay, yeah, sure, let's do that. And so we ended up having it that his full name is Hero Florin Morn, and so he goes by Florin because he doesn't like his first name. And like that, we took this character that I thought was just a fun little character idea and turned it into like this really well developed character that I felt instantly connected to when we started playing.
And I think it makes total sense that the two of you did that because, I mean, first off, it's just fun, but also you're joining a cast that are playing characters that have been playing those characters for a while on stream. And a good portion of that campaign, for those of you who want to watch it and haven't seen it yet, involves finding out more about yourself as a character, what your character thinks about themselves, and making some discoveries. So I like the idea. I think it makes total sense that the two of you would work so hard on Florin because you now have to bring this quote unquote brand new character into a sphere with these three others who have gone through Westgate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then sparking off of that, because you've done a lot of DMing, and this has been one of your chances to be a player, but the Lurking Writer they've asked both of us, but I'm just going to ask you because I'm the host now. Although I guess I got to answer it. So what they ask is, you've both DM'd for each other. What do you both enjoy about the other's DMing style? I will say just real quick, what I enjoy about Trevor's DMing style is it's a similar thing to what I at least try to do, which is you're very good at walking that line of serious but still can be silly. Like heroic adventure, and where there is still serious stakes and there's still serious consequences and there's still serious emotions, and like you can play serious, but that either things can get lighthearted and funny, or being out of character, you can have those moments, like, and just finding that line in where we can have fun but also still cry. Like that's a hard line to walk, and I think you do it very well.
Well, thank you. The thing that I love about your DMing style is how attached I instantly feel to it, to the game. Like, there's been 2 games now where you've told me, come to the game with a food, like something that your character is bringing to this that is a food.
Me asking about food, never.
And but like that, I know that is a thing with you, but like having to do that and bringing it there, and then having within the first few moments of a game a character that you have made reacting to that is something that gives me an instant jump in point to roleplay and to get connected to what's going on. And so you've always done with the games I play with you an amazing job of getting me directly into the game and feeling like this is the story that I care about, and this is the story that I want to see through.
I appreciate that. And I'll say a lot of the impetus for that, it comes from streaming, because for any of those one shots in specific, but any game that I run, if you've ever have to have the moment of, all right, we're introducing a bunch of characters to the audience, like, I don't know about you, but I get bored of the whole, all right, now I'm going to describe my character and I'm going to list off all the physical attributes and list off the this and the that. So I'm always trying to come up with a different way that we can introduce a character that doesn't involve, reading off of a character sheet. So, and also
I like
food.
that.
I also like
Also
food, and food is always important. So, Lurky Writer also wants to know, speaking of having many characters, when will Garlock and Lauren's family of kobold bakers make it into another or any streams on this channel? Well, so we talked a little bit about Garlock. You don't know when Garlock is going to show up. I'll say real quick, if you've been watching Children of Verte, you know where Lauren's family of kobold bakers are.
Oh!
And I say that because we've now been playing Children of Verte for several years. And we're at the point where a lot of the things that people didn't know about those characters have come out. Like, I finally confirmed they're a Circle of the Stars druid and everything. So if you want to know about that kobold baker family and where they ended up, there you go.
Okay.
But I will jump off of that, because you talked about Garlock and how you don't know where he's going to show up. If Garlock was to show up in Turn of Fortune's Wheel as a glitch, what would he look like and what would he be?
Okay. So fun fact, I did originally pitch this.
Okay.
I actually did have, before I came up with Ren, I actually did pitch that it was Garlock, and I was going to have him show up as a giant barbarian sort of character, but still be Garlock. So yeah, I think he was going to be like either a Goliath or an orc barbarian, but still very much Garlock.
I love it. And finally, I'm going to ask a question that if people have been watching the Idol Champions one-shots that we've done over the last couple of years, they will understand what this question is about. Cassie335 wants to know about your home game, Trevor. How's Mars doing?
Oh no, this was on Dungeon Scrawlers.
That's right. That was Dungeon Scrawlers.
This was the Dungeon Scrawlers one.
I had a moment because Garwar was in that game, and so I just went, oh, yeah.
We'd gotten a small Idle Champions crew there. Yeah, so we did a Extra Life game last year for Dungeon Scrawlers, and I had a lovely group of people, including Lauren, Garwar, Mars, and my sister-in-law, Allie.
Idovan showed up in that game.
Idovan, yes. And in it, we were rolling on the table that Lauren very graciously has let me use several times, this Wild Magic of Wildness charity table that I think all of you have seen in some of the charity games that we've done. And at one point towards the end of the game, Mars rolled on it, and the effect was you are replaced with your character. So Mars was suddenly in the game, not his character. And then we kept going through it, and Mordenkainen let him use a wish spell to stay permanently there. And so now Mars exists in my continuity of the Forgotten Realms.
Yep. Has Mars shown up in your campaign yet, or is he still?
He has not, because I've been very much just a player since then. But Mars is in Waterdeep. I'm gonna have to figure out what he's doing.
There you go. All right, I said that was the last question, but I lied. There's one more question that just came in from TTRP Gifts, which I think bounces off of that real good, which is, what's a one-shot tip you would give to a newbie DM?
Prepare more and cut as much as you need. I think even more than that, just be comfortable with cutting stuff. Because for a one shot, it's, especially when you're doing a stream one, we've got a certain amount of time, and I am constantly looking at what's happening in encounter and what I can cut ahead to get us towards the end. Because that's the most important thing, is just getting to the ending so we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
That would be my big piece of advice.
I 100% endorse that piece of advice because the best one shot.
Sorry, I just saw Barefoot Monkey in the chat. So the whole idea of Mars becoming the next patron is on the table.
No, I mean, it sounds like Mars being the next champion is on the table.
Lurking Rider Mars is the next Masked Lord of Waterdeep. Oh my god, Lurking, you may have changed things in my head for my continuity.
Well, and that is the best place for us to stop for today. Thank you, Trevor, for letting me pick your brain about writing for Idle Champions and specifically Turn of Fortune's Wheel. And also thank you for writing Orkira in a way that I hear her in my head going, yeah, I sound like that. If people want to find out more of your stuff and follow you, your podcasts and everything, where should people go?
If you want to check out my podcasts, I mean, there is a plethora of them. I think I have a pinned post on my Twitter account, which is at the Trevor. There's an A hiding in there, of all of the shows that I have, but the active ones right now are writing about dragons and shit. And I'm going to podcast. And yeah, check out, Fearful Symmetry next Wednesday at 6 p.m. And if this is the far from future, check out Dungeon Scrawler's YouTube channel, to see that. Oh, I will mention this, actually, speaking of Dungeon Scrawlers writing about dragons and shit. The Dungeon Scrawlers Discord, which I have constantly said since doing Champions of Lore with Aaron, is a fantastic place of just really cool people. Go ahead and join it, and if you like writing about dragons and shit, we're going to have a channel in there, actually several channels dedicated to that show, where you can come talk with other Tangerinos, post questions, and talk with Aaron and I. B-Dave hates Discord, so don't, it's fine. We know this, and we accept him.
Listen, I love Discord, but I'm in too many Discords, so
yeah.
I will try to join the Tangerinos as often as I can.
Hey!
So yeah, come by the Discord. Also come by Idle Champions Discord, discord.gg/idlechampions, because we're on there as well, and you can ask questions there. But for now, thank you, Trevor, for joining us. Thank you for answering all of our questions. You'll probably see Trevor next week on this channel, except he'll be asking the questions, and I'll just be behind the scenes. So until then, thanks for watching. And how do you usually say goodbye on this channel? How do you usually say?
Until next week, take care of yourself.